Shut up and sit down.
To get stuff from me, you have to beat me in a musical battle.
But Jake's the musical one, and he's got poo brain.
I don't care.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? How are you guys doing?
Jake, you're back.
Shut your feet.
Something strange.
Want to hear something scary? I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. For my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly to my surprise Matt Grand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Doering all did the mesh, the Dial podcast mesh. Hey, I tried.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts. I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von Doering, and today I'm here with Evan Price.
How's it going?
Good.
Good.
How you doing, Evan?
Good.
Pretty good. Well,
Good.
better. I'm doing better.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? How are you guys doing?
They're doing good, too.
Are you
Good.
sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure they're doing well?
I like speaking on
their
behalf of the people.
On their behalf?
On their behalf.
They are doing well.
Yes, they are. And last but not least, Mr. Lance Hepler.
Lance Romance in studio.
Thank goodness, in studio.
Coming at you with full nose hair today.
Oh, thank goodness.
I just noticed my nose hairs are quite unruly.
Unruly.
You know, there's some you can buy that just you like stick it in there, just like rips them all out.
Rips them out.
I think that can't be good for you.
It can't
but
be
no,
good.
that cannot be good.
You ever just plucked a single one and it's like the end of the world? Like
Oh,
the
it
tears
is.
start
Yeah.
gushing out of your eyes and like your
Oh.
brain feels like it's going to explode?
It's like taking out
we're
the
off to a
worst
good start
My
hangnail
today.
intention.
ever.
This was not my intention.
We are off to a good
Introduction.
start today, my
It
friends.
was nose hair talk.
It's a good thing we're talking about nose hairs as our main topic today.
Nose hairs with Lance Romance.
Good times. That's my one for the show right there, baby.
Wow.
All right, let's
What a start.
backpedal this bad boy.
Wait,
Evan,
and you are Jake Von Doering.
I did say that.
She's
in
also
the
Jake Von
intro.
Doering.
I am completely out of it.
Yeah.
These nose hairs
got
are
lost.
affecting my brain cells.
You were lost in nose hair. Yes. Backpedal.
Let's start with the big one because he was out of. Well, you guys were
was
both
out
out
of
of town. You guys were all.
Oh, start with me.
We were all
worthless.
out of. Well, no. Matt was technically. Well, you were in town for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no. Yeah. I mean, I
Technically
went to
out of town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went to a cross country race.
Okay, so
Start with Matt.
okay, we'll start with Matt.
Okay.
Backpedal,
yeah.
Matt.
All right. Camas cross country boys and girls both won the. It's really called bi districts, but think of it as regionals. We dominated. It was good. Good
Nice.
times. Yep. Then Sunday I came back and dodged some raindrops and went out for a bike ride. I saw Jake.
Yes, you did.
And all I did the most boring ride ever. I just went up and down the hill right here because I was like, it's gonna rain any second, so I'm just gonna stay close to home. And I just climbed.
That's not just a hill, though.
It's a beast.
That's a
Think about
serious.
Lacamas Steeps.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Lacamas Lane
Yeah,
here,
Lacamas
and it was Jake was like looked at my computer. I was like at mile 3 or something like that. I'm like, I'm at about 1,000 feet of climbing or something like that.
Damn.
I did the hill 4 times, and then I came up on this e-biker, which was, I was thinking about this on the podcast. I was like, and I was like, oh, I'll double back for you, and I'll ride with you, so I doubled back and I rode with him for a minute, and he was like, okay, well, I need to go this place. He was kind of lost. And I rode with him for, I don't know, 10 miles or something like that. And I was like, this is pretty cool that this guy who's, I'm guessing he was in his late 60s or something like that. And he and I can ride together, chat, whatever.
Yeah.
And the e-bike
That's
is
a good argument for the e-bike.
the
I like
e-bike
that.
is
Yeah.
real, man. And I don't think there was no animosity. I was just in one of those moods where anyone that would roll around that I would see, I would have been like, let's ride together, and it was good because I could at least point him in the right direction. He was going back west towards Vancouver and just was lost on Prune Hill. And I was like, yeah, we can go this way or this way. And he was probably super annoyed by me, but he couldn't get away with me. He couldn't get away from me
There
with
are
the
definitely
e-bike.
times on Prune Hill I would absolutely take an e-bike. If I'm that far into a ride,
Yeah.
I would 100%
Well,
take those extra
yeah.
couple watts.
Interesting stuff. Like, it was like really cold on Sunday and like sleeting at times, and he was wearing sandals. So there was some like,
Clipping sandals?
At
No.
least he was out on his bike.
I know it was kind of awesome, and I was super enjoyed having like someone to ride with.
Good for him, man.
Yeah, I know
And
it was
sandals.
great.
Wow.
And he was like, "Well, I just put this, on this bike on this level, and I still get to work out when I do the hills." And I was like, "This." I mean, he didn't look like he was working super hard on the hills, but I mean, we could ride together. It was pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm an e-bike fan now.
Yeah, it's fun. You got to ride one though. That's where that's where it puts the smile on your face. Like, oh, okay, I get this. This is fun.
And he had a bigger bike with bigger tires, and there's all kinds of great things about that, right? Where it's like less likely to have flats.
Too.
Yeah, less likely to have flats, and he had pannier like stuff. Like he could carry a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
he had like I mean, it was a much more upright setup and all these things where you're like, this is cool. Like you could do this into your 70s. Like this is the way, and I'm, if I could get more people doing that I could ride with, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So
less cars on the road too. Yeah.
Less cars on the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's my backpedal. Fun stuff.
I like it.
Yep.
How are you feeling about state?
So our girls team should not win state. I think they could get third if they have a really big day. Our guys team, they are very good. They could win state if they all ran well, but their coach isn't that bright, so who knows?
I think it's a coaching issue.
Yeah,
Yes.
it could be a coaching issue. There's basically 5 teams that I think are all really good, and so any of those 5 teams could win.
Depends on who has a good day and who doesn't.
Yep.
It's going to be a nerve-wracking race for those
So
guys.
I could see us
fun.
getting 5th place. I could see us doing worse than that if we have a bad day. I could, or I could see us getting first. So we'll hope for the best. Our top guys are struggling right now, so they know they're struggling.
Pressure.
I don't know. We'll see.
It's okay.
Yep. And so we'll see how that goes. That's coming up next weekend. That was going to be my one last thing, but now I'll have to come up with something creative. Yep. Okay.
Evan
Yep.
Price, Backpedal.
I was in Colorado for almost 3 days.
Nice.
Here, yes. On a business/pleasure trip, which was fun.
Business, pleasure, romance.
I was trying to do
Tell
my
us more.
best. I was trying to do my best Lance impression out there. I was trying to enjoy it, but I forgot that I'm at 5,200 feet out there.
Yeah.
And anybody who's listened to the history of this podcast knows that I slightly struggle
At elevation.
in altitude situations. So the coolest part was I went out there to meet with 2 of my future business partners, Chris Lee and Joe Lee. One is a chiropractor, Chris Lee is a strength and conditioning coach out in Boulder who works with the gauntlet of endurance pros out there. So I got to meet a lot of cool people. I was talking with Matt about this before the podcast, got to hang out with some of the Tin Man Running Elite group, which is a group of really fast runners out in Boulder. And
Did you run with them at all?
I was there when they were doing their 2K and ran during it. So does that technically count as running
It's
with
like
them?
you couldn't. There's no way for you.
I
to
was
run
running
with them.
at the same moments that they
Right.
were running.
Like
yeah.
they come by and there's like, even if I sprinted for a quarter mile, there's no way.
I mean, if
'Cause they're running
if
probably-
they were doing their recovery run, I'd be like, cool, I'll go run with you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Anything else? No.
Yeah.
There's a sub 4 minute miler in that group named Drew Hunter, who
Right.
anybody who's a running fan would know. Drew Hunter's a young, up and coming hopeful for
Right.
the Olympic
Absolutely.
team one day. Absolutely. And
Yep.
a couple other really, really fast runners on that team too.
So for 2K, they're probably running somewhere under 65 seconds per quarter.
Yeah, so Sam Parsons, the coolest part of this, and I'm not, breaking it, this was just one of their workout days. Sam Parsons opened their 2K test at 61 seconds.
Yeah.
Fast kid.
Right.
Fun kid to talk to, really. Sam Parsons is a kind of a runner at heart in the sense that he has a very classic sense of running. He doesn't like running with watches.
Nice.
He doesn't like
Funny.
hearing his times. He goes out there and run. He does not like hearing his times, apparently.
So he goes out too hard.
He just goes and runs and just loves running.
That's right down your alley.
Yeah.
Evan.
Yeah.
I know. That's why I liked the kid. He really kind of
You were
spoke
like,
to me.
we
Yeah.
are best friends now.
I know. It was great talking to him. He was, they were all open to learn. Good group of kids, so definitely we'll be cheering for him
Cool.
over the
Good.
next couple of years. They're a good group, and they're going to develop together well.
It's nice to hear about, like, because you read about these runners and things like that, and you're like, well, who knows? Maybe they're complete jerks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes they are.
They are, yeah. Sometimes they
but
are.
like anytime someone's like, no, this person's good
Oh,
person,
yeah.
good person,
And
right?
they're-
then
and
you're
they're
like,
like a
okay,
good-
cool, I can cheer for this
And
person.
they're like a good group of friends too. They also there's another kid out there living with them, Morgan Pearson, who is, I think I've mentioned on this podcast before. My friend Chris is the strength coach for, and he is gonna be I'm putting my money down that he'll be one of the triathletes in the Olympics in the next cycle or two. He's that fast. He has that much ability.
If he's running with that group,
yes,
then don't you worry that is non-traditional for triathletes to go that fast, to do that much, because the rest of that group is all focused on running.
Yeah,
right. So where they'll do a morning run and then they're recovering until their afternoon workout. So potentially
he trains on his own quite a bit, but he lives with them, so he's around them and does train with them. So I think he's not like doing all his runs with them. I'm sure.
But he's some easy runs and stuff, maybe morning runs or something.
I would imagine. Right now he's in his off season, but we'll see this next year. He's going to develop well this next year.
Yeah,
he just got on a bicycle like 3 years ago. So.
It's just the biking component is so different, right? Because you're like, oh, I got to go bike 5 hours. Whereas those runners will never do that.
Yeah,
they'll go out for their morning 5, 6, 7 mile run, and then they'll do an afternoon workout.
And then an evening cool down. And then
No. Two
not
runs.
Even there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so there are runners that do 3 runs, but
yeah,
not that group. I would think. I would guess those are milers. There.
Did you ride your bike while you were out there?
Oh, I rode my bike.
Okay.
Here's every day.
Thank you, Lance.
Here's the fun. Here's the cycling story. So you'll love this. So I have this buddy, Kit Hinders, who I've mentioned on this podcast before. Kit is an awesome human being, been a very good friend of mine for a long time. And every single time we ride together, we do these rides where we try to, anybody listening to this is going to be like, that's so dumb. Why would you do this? But we try to not eat food the entire ride and drink as little water as possible in this terrible peer pressure thing that we've developed.
Brilliant.
It's so
How did I never
stupid.
think of that?
Everybody has that friend who refuses food from them on a ride, right?
You do tons of dumb stuff all the time.
I know. This was especially dumb. So he knew that he got me this time because he needed to get me back he came back to Ohio once before I'd left Ohio. And it was very humid, and I knew he had just been in Colorado. So we went on a 110-mile ride, and I hammered him the entire time.
Oh, my gosh.
And he hurt because his body had not seen humidity in however many years he's been out in Colorado. So this time, I go out for Halloween, and on Saturday night, I get maybe 3 hours of sleep, and I have to go ride with Kit on Sunday. Originally, we were going to do the Mount Evans ride. But it was good, like snowy up there, so we weren't going to be able to do it. So instead, he was like, okay, I'll just take you up another climb. Not mentioning to me that this is the Coal Creek Gap Road ride, which if anybody from Colorado is listening to this knows that is mostly a dirt climb towards the top. You hit pitches of 15 to 18% in gravel. So on basically no sleep and absolutely not being altitude acclimated, went on I don't even know how long the ride was. I did not ride with anything. All I know is it took us 4 to 5 hours of just me in the saddle hurting really badly.
What bike were you on?
I was on my buddy's Allay. Thank God he had an Allay. Yeah, okay. I love Allays. But it was the most... there were points where I was considering turning around just so I could descend for a little bit to just get a break from climbing. Like, it was so painful.
Hours of climbing.
But it was beautiful weather. 75, sunny.
Oh, wow.
Just amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Anybody going out to the Boulder area, you can... So, like, Boulder and Denver, if you're in that area, there's so many amazing climbs right there.
So you think maybe this is the time to visit for us because right now it's so rainy here?
Yes. You got like another 2-week window of really good
before
weather.
It starts snowing
and stuff like that.
Cold.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody jump on a plane and go to Colorado. That's fun. Yeah.
Fun. Lance, last time we talked to you, you were on location and you were about ready to jump on the Zen Master Trail or whatever that was called.
Zen Master Trail.
I love the name of that.
Backpedal for us, man.
I think I saw pictures.
How'd it go?
Oh, my week was fantastic.
No, it was not. It was glorious?
Glorious.
There it is. Okay.
It was very good. Yeah, all of it was great. Thank you for putting up with me while I was mid-transition trying to talk to you guys. And it was all crazy. Yeah, I did a 6-mile trail in St. George called the Zen Trail. It took me an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was all big climb and steep, rocky, technical, uphill stuff. I did not clean it. I got off and walked so many times. I hiked a bike quite a bit, and it is totally cleanable, but I'm still working on my mountain bike skills for sure. So that was great. Then the next 4 days, it was just more adventuring. We went from there to a place called Valley of the Fire State Park, which is in Nevada. and I did a short little ride.
What state park is that?
Valley of the Fire.
Is that anywhere like near Great Basin National Park, or is that more west Nevada?
It's an hour from Vegas,
Oh,
45
got it.
minutes
Okay.
from Vegas. It's
Okay.
almost in Las Vegas. And we went there purely to take pictures and for me to
Nice.
get on my bike because there were some cool picture spots.
You wanted
there.
to win the dialed cycling photo contest.
I did. Did I win it?
I think there was a group of people that took pictures on Saturday. Is it Saturday or Sunday's ride?
Saturday little Masters
Saturday's
ride, team ride. Yeah,
I was on that ride.
I know
too.
you were on that ride.
Yeah.
I know where you've been. I stalked you.
I saw your pictures from that. Yeah,
But I couldn't tell. Someone did a black and white that looked really nice.
Yeah, Jay Small.
Yeah,
he did
that's
some-
what it was.
Yeah.
I think Jay won. I think
Yeah.
Jay won.
Well, I
your
took that-
efforts.
I
Did
took
you
that
vote
picture
for
and
Jay,
shared it
Matt?
with Jay.
Your efforts were wasted. You took that same picture. Did you give it to Jay?
Yeah, I shared it with Jay.
Okay,
so-
I was gonna say because I saw the same picture. So you still won.
But Jay has a very good photographic eye as well. He's
He is,
he's
yeah.
good at taking pictures too. So
He's good at a lot of things.
yes, very good.
Yeah. Like
So-
I love his he has like a whole bunch of stats and stuff like that he'll roll through.
Yeah, he'll do stats for the races,
Which
like average speeds for.
Is
yeah,
amazing.
for-
Yeah,
for
he'll
the
do
races.
he does tons of cool stuff. He's also done some cool video stuff in the
Yeah.
past. Like he's a cool dude.
Yeah, He's a
You're
cool dude.
yeah, you guys had a good ride?
we did. That was Saturday's ride. It was a bunch of Masters guys, and Nels, who's 14 or something.
15, I believe.
15.
Yeah.
He plugged along with us as well and made it the whole way. It was 50 miles and 4,000 feet of climbing. I went 70 miles and 5,000 feet of climbing because I just added
because you're Lance.
because I'm Lance.
Yep.
And but yeah, that ride was just great to ride with good people.
You're doing Prune Hill with us, right? The 10K.
Yeah,
Prune Hill 10K?
if I'm in town, I'll do it.
Okay, Matt,
Yeah.
you doing that too? I know we talked about this before.
same thing. It's like I think there's one weekend that I'm in town, and if the weather's decent,
Because I saw that Jake, you put up a post to
Yeah.
I did just like
do the dates, right? See
Yeah,
what
it's either
works
going to be
best.
November 10th or November 17th.
Okay.
I think there are about split number of people that can't do one or the other, so we have to kind of come up with what's going to be best. So
I think you should just tentatively set the 10th, and then if the weather's bad, just push it to the 17th.
Yeah.
Because then if the weather's, because I don't really think if it's really rainy, like it was sleeting on Sunday. I just don't
Scents
think
are nasty.
Yeah, descending.
it was
it's gonna
nuts
be-
yesterday. Yeah, If it's
Crazy.
anything like that, then it's probably not even safe to go
Yeah.
out and ride. So
So
we'll come up with
the
something.
Prune Hill 10K, in case people are curious, Prune Hill is a small hill in the area here in Southwest Washington, and we find different ways to go up and down it quite a few times. It takes us usually around 50, 60 miles,
Yep.
and we try and get 10,000 feet of climbing.
Yep. The course that's plotted out right now is about 56 and change miles,
Okay, yeah.
and then it's just over 10,000 feet of climbing.
It's super fun.
Yep. Fun.
Everyone's welcome. It's not like a team ride or anything. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay. Any more backpedaling?
do you
I
want to hear
totally-
about more cool stuff?
I totally
Did you
interrupted
race?
you.
Did you race?
I did not race this week.
That's is that 10 days of no races?
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's been
Are
a
you
little
okay?
while.
Take his temperature real
know,
quick,
I've-
Evan.
Does that count as an off season? Is that-
I feel strange a little bit that I didn't have this hour and a half long session of.
He's got this like competitive like juice now that he needs to like get out. He's
There was a chance to race, but I ended up going on the ride with the Masters group instead, which I really enjoyed. So
That was good. I mean, I don't think you lost either way.
No.
If you did the race, the Crosstoberfest on Saturday, that would have been fun. But
Yeah,
the
it
ride
would've
that
been
you guys
fun,
went on looked
it
spectacular.
was great.
The Sunday race was a little bit different of a story.
Yeah, it was a complete mud fest. And the cyclocross crusade out at Cascade Locks, it was muddy and wet, and they had a big thunder hailstorm that rolled through in the middle of the women's race. They had to cancel the women's race a lap into it. They had to like stop it because it became unsafe. And but we had a bunch of teammates out there hammering through it. It was really muddy, really nasty, but that's Northwest cyclocross,
Yeah.
which we haven't had this year so far. So.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that.
Lucky so far.
I did spend a couple of days in Yosemite National Park and a
horrible.
day in Death Valley National Park.
oh my god.
And that was fantastic. It was just me, my wife, and the dog. And
I saw. You know what's cool is
I saw the pictures from Yosemite
yeah,
that you
some of
put
the
up. Yeah.
some of the biking short clips that you hear like biking in front of.
Yeah.
What's the big hill? What's the big
The El
steep-
Capitan?
El Capitan. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, so
pretty cool, dude.
it was cool. We did a few hikes, and then we got on our bikes and rode for a little bit.
Did you guys ever hear about the guy who free climbed that?
Yeah, it's
Anybody who knows climbing would know who I'm talking
Alex
about. but
Honnold.
Yeah.
He free soloed.
looking at
El
that
Capitan.
as you're riding it, is it more incredible to
It's-
think that somebody would actually climb up that?
It's it's unfathomable that he did that.
Yeah.
We actually hiked up to the base of El Cap, and
I saw your wife posted a picture.
My wife's a
Yeah.
rock climber, so she you know,
Climbed up a little bit.
We walk up to it, and she actually like broke into tears. She was like emotional getting that close to that epic of a
That's like
rock climbing.
That's
area.
like the Alpe d'Huez of
Yes.
climbing, right? Yeah.
So it was really cool. So she climbed a little bit there, but just
Right.
the base. We had no.
So she
gear
free
or
climbed
no
the whole
nothing.
thing?
She
Okay.
free climbed almost 30 feet or something, and it's a 3,500 foot climb. It's
Hey,
pretty
that's
crazy.
30 feet more than I would do.
But yeah, our those few days there in Yosemite were just fantastic. So I'm sure we'll go back.
Everybody should stock your pictures for that.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Instagram /
It was a
Lance
good time.
Romance.
I'll be there next October.
Oh, cool.
Because I'm going to be doing Lance's
Oh, yeah.
2018 ride
Oh,
schedule.
yeah,
So
so
if
there
you
you
guys want
go.
to come with me,
Follow
you're
That's actually, yeah, Jake's been riding over there every single time Lance says a ride, and he puts down the date and where he was.
Lance Stalker 2019.
Yes, I've got all the GPX files. They're all ready to go. And
Slash Lance's tires next year on those days so that he can't go
I'm going to
out.
invite Lance. Maybe he'll drive me.
There you
Good
go.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. My backpedal was a lot more of the same. I'm getting tired of saying that, but last week was just like one of those weeks where it's like every flipping day I had some sort of medical appointment. Sometimes it was multiple medical appointments, acupuncture appointments, physical therapy appointments, MRI appointment, doctor's appointments. It was like something every single day until I got to Friday. It was like, thank God, a day off from medical appointments. So I was trying to get caught up with life. Been plugging away at Zwift. I have amassed, let's see here, it was about 750 miles and 69,000 feet of climbing on Zwift since I got back to rolling about 6.5 weeks
How
ago.
many hours were you last week?
8.
8?
Wow,
Okay.
that's really good.
Yeah.
8 again this week, or are you bumping up a little bit more?
I'm due to go up a little bit. I'll probably
Okay.
hit a little bit closer to 9 this week. And I've been pushing the FTP up a little bit too. So I think I have my FTP setting at about 310 right now.
Wow.
I think
Sorry,
it's
Matt.
a little bit higher than that. The legs are actually feeling decently well, so I'm kind of excited
Good.
about that. Soccer games, pumpkin patch stuff with the family,
Good times.
and yeah, I'm about 5 months into this whole process, and we talked briefly about this before. I tried to sleep in my own bed, and it failed, so I'm gonna
Attempt 1. Yeah. So we'll go.
I'm going to keep trucking along. I'm about 5 months in of sleeping on the couch in a recliner now. It sucks. It really does, but I don't know. Someday I'll get back to being normal. Anyway.
You'll be so thankful for like laying flat sleeping.
Yes, exactly. So we are going to get this thing started. We've got a little list we made for you guys, a little top 10 that turned into a top 12 list because we couldn't stop adding things to it.
We're like one of those viral articles now. Isn't that what they do? Like,
So we're going to kind of hit with a little Halloween theme because when this podcast comes out, it will be Happy Halloween.
It's spooktacular.
Ba-dum-bum, ba-dum-bum.
Spooktacular.
Yeah. But it's going to be our top 10 that was 10, but now 12 fears about cycling and triathlon. So we made a list for you from number 12 down to number 1, and we're going to run through it of our fears of cycling, about cycling and triathlon. So starting off with number 12. This one was kind of fun.
The top 12 list.
Start with 12.
We're going to go from
10 to
12.
We'll work our way
12
way
down to
up.
1.
Our
So
biggest fears.
the biggest fear.
Fears.
The one that we put on the list at number 12 was spousal cost deception.
Is this
How
like
much do you lie to your wife about
the
what
fear of her
things
finding
cost?
out how much
Yeah.
the
Yes.
something costs?
Exactly.
so is it the fear of lying or is it the fear of her
I
finding
think it's
out?
the finding
Probably
out. Lying's no,
both.
no problem. We have no problem lying.
Okay.
It's the finding out.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, honey, Jake gave me that bike.
Jake just needed his garage is full
It's
and he just
full.
needed
So,
someplace to keep
so
it.
give me the breakdown on deception here because I will need to learn these lessons over the next few years of my life. So I'm experienced going
well,
into this.
first of all, first things first, you got a great deal on whatever it is.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
a great deal on
Great
this.
deal. So technically you saved money.
We saved money.
Okay, good.
Or better, when you buy a new bike, you hide it somewhere so she never actually sees it.
How do you explain if she
does
sees
it,
it?
when she does say, "Oh yeah, I've had that bike forever," I get that line about shoes with my wife all the time. So yeah, with bikes, it's
I had that forever, almost 40 minutes.
Or as Lance was saying earlier, you can just pretend like you're babysitting Jake's bike. There you go.
I'm just holding I'm just holding on to this for him.
I'm taking care of Jake's bike.
I'm bike sitting.
I gotta keep the chain. Gotta keep the chain from seizing up.
You can't let it rust.
Gotta move. It needs to move.
Yeah.
You got another kit? Power meter? What the heck is power? You spend $1,000 on a power meter? What's a power meter? But honey, I need that.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you explain a power meter? Like, how would you explain that you
I don't even
need
try.
that to
I don't
us?
even try. I'm gonna try to explain it.
Yeah.
So my coach told me to get it.
Yeah.
So.
My last YouTube video that I just posted, last week or after the podcast, it was specifically about like power meters for triathletes or something like that. I should just be like, here you go, wife. Watch this video.
I'm going to reference you to my YouTube channel.
She'll hate me.
I would love
Hate
to
me
see
more than she
I would
already
love to see
does.
her face as you reference
Why did you
her
spend
to
this money?
your YouTube channel.
Why'd you spend this money? We'll watch this video.
Matt, this is your
why it's
channel.
The key is to keep a slush fund, a separate slush fund that she does not have access or privy to, that everything comes out of that.
Yeah.
So on Wednesday, Brandy's going to be
Brandy-
rifling through all of this, your
I've just screwed
dresser
myself.
and your
I was gonna
bank
say,
statements. Where's the slush fund?
Where's the slush fund?
I'm fine over here. This is a very dangerous topic for the three other men sitting at this table right now.
It is. We should move on.
Yeah.
You can
Number
learn
11.
from us young dress up.
Yes.
Number 11, stress and anxiety.
Pre-race stress, pre-racing anxiety, or just general stress?
Well, in general, but I think that's probably the big one.
Even training stress and anxiety can be put in there too. Yeah.
Having hit your numbers, having hit your
Yeah.
marks, having to perform in your races. I mean,
Does anybody here have worse? If you had to choose, which is worse for you, the race anxiety or actually like throughout the year training anxiety?
I think race anxiety.
Yeah.
is
I know
for sure.
Matt has talked about his race anxiety before. I know. Yeah.
I think I had a problem with it when I was younger. I don't think I have as much of a problem with it anymore, but it's real.
I'm still nervous before
Every race.
Yep.
Yep.
At that start line.
Even
and my
what about
stomach just
one of
churns.
those like Wednesday night, like not
Yeah,
a big
yeah.
deal.
If you're racing 4 or 5 times a week, Lance,
still
what
get
is
a
your
little nervous
anxiety?
on the line.
I'm still nervous on the
Yeah.
line.
Really?
Every
especially
time.
when you get that
Because you get on the
bump up,
line
too.
and they
Well,
got a
not.
starter.
It's just not that. I know the next hour is going to hurt.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to have to push through that pain. And so it just makes you nervous. You feel better if you're out in front, but
Yep.
Hey, you
never
perform
know.
better if you're a little nervous. That means you care. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we're competitors as well, and
Yeah.
we want to do as well as we possibly can. We hate losing, and
Yeah.
the notion of what Lance just said, having to perform, and then like something happening or going sideways, or you not being able to get up there where you think you should be.
Yeah.
There's anxiety that's there.
Yeah.
The other thing about race anxiety is if your whole season is based around one certain race.
Oh God, welcome to triathlon.
Gentlemen.
Yeah.
This is the
Like
problem.
Ironman Canada
Yeah.
next year. That
Yeah.
is a
Problem.
big focus for both of you next year.
Yeah.
And if something, just the anxiety of something going wrong during that race or in the lead up to that race, it's
See, that's where I get more. I mean, I get some race anxiety, I guess, but no, mine's all training anxiety. I get like the 5-6 months out from a race, I will get very anxious on if I'm not hitting all the numbers I'd like to
Right.
hit.
well,
Yeah.
if you have
And
a
not-
power
and not
meter,
that I
you
train-
have to know what your numbers are. Right.
Hey, I've been
To be
trained into a
nervous
power meter
about
lately.
that.
I've been doing a lot of power meter training lately.
That's
No.
where I'm feeling this right now, where I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah.
Running's not going well.
Yeah.
My biking isn't that well. It's like I'm starting to feel. The
We're still
crunch.
like way out from the
We
race.
still have
so
tons of time. Yeah, but it's definitely stressful.
yeah.
It's
I've-
unneeded stress.
and I've never done I'll tell you what. Talk about Halloween spooktacular. I've never done an Ironman before.
Yeah.
My first race is going to be on one of the toughest Ironman courses against some pretty fast dudes. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's true.
What about jumping up to the next level, the next category?
Yeah,
I mean,
'cause
you're going to be
you're-
racing pro
Yeah.
next year. Lance got bumped up to Cat 2 and
exactly.
cross.
He's racing the legit. I mean, that's
Anxiety.
I
That's gonna
absolutely
add-
have anxiety. Like, I will be completely honest on this podcast about. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, oh yeah, no, I'm good. No, I mean, there's a potential. Like when I race Galveston next year, I mean, I'm going to be lining up against like Ben Canute,
Yep.
guys. I mean, like Olympians. Like I am no Olympian by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, definitely nerves with that.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
bad nerves. Like I'm excited, but it's nerves. Yeah.
Yeah. We might have to come back to this someday and go through
Oh,
this
God,
list
yeah.
and
I
talk
know.
about
this
how
whole
we,
list could be separate topics for sure.
yeah, like different topics, but we could also talk about how to combat these things.
Absolutely.
Number 10 is kind of a funny one. We've got our brains and then we've got our body, and sometimes our body doesn't quite cooperate with the brain, and you get things like reversals and explosive failures. Lance, you care to elaborate on that one for us?
I don't want to crap myself during the race.
I pooped my pants.
I cracked my shorts.
I think you guys are safe because running is where it's at.
Yeah.
Man. That
Is this
where
a fear for cyclists?
Well,
it could happen.
Not so much. You have more stomach distress in a running race.
Well, if
Yeah,
you bike
but-
a lot and you,
I've heard of this stuff in cycling, though.
well, I mean,
It's usually right before the race, and there's
of
course.
Gotta get it
you
out,
gotta get
yeah.
to the bathroom, and then about 70 other people have the same experience, and you're waiting in line, and you're like, oh,
Yep.
crap, I got to get to my race.
yep.
Yeah. See, that's the nice thing about a wetsuit is that as long as it's not number 2, before the race, you're like, all right,
You're
well,
fine.
where am I going to go use the restroom?
Yeah.
Right in the water over there. All right.
That's a different story. Or puking. Have you puked on a race?
No.
Oh yeah.
I've felt
I have too, man. In the middle,
Yeah.
I've been hammering on the bike and just leaned over and.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was it nutrition based or just.
Yeah, it's usually right after I tried to eat something and
Oh,
I'm
okay.
going too hard. My heart
Yeah.
rate's too high.
Yeah.
And my stomach says nope. Nothing solid, and then here it comes back.
Ugh.
And then I laugh because it's so stupid because I've just puked on myself during
God.
the bike, which is better than crapping myself.
Way
I would
better.
absolutely choose the puking over number.
It's-
Number 2, like your day is kind of done at that point. Like, I mean, you can continue to race if you want. Good for
Yeah.
you, but that's
Okay.
Tough times.
that's a fear. That would be a very.
You ever
It's
puked, Matt?
craptascular.
You ever puked?
Oh yeah.
I've never puked
So I
because
think
of training or a race.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say period. I was like, really? You've never so never during training puked?
No.
I can't remember last time.
Never
I'm not sure
during
if I
training,
have.
never during a race. I mean, I felt like I wanted to pass out, but I've never thrown up.
Okay.
yeah.
I
My body
made
just
Brandy
isn't ready.
puke just like 2
Thrown up.
months ago.
Yeah, I think it's easier to when you're out of shape to push yourself really hard and make yourself vomit.
Mm-hmm.
But I, and then when I was younger, when I was running, I could push myself and hit a spot. I also the fastest marathon I ever did, I got to the finish line and started throwing up.
Really?
That's
Yeah.
one heck
Oh,
of a
yeah.
PR right there. Well, that was everything your body was gonna do.
Yeah, it was whatever. It's
I've
fine.
done it at 400s.
Yeah.
Doing 400 repeats.
Those are the easiest, right? To
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
yourself where you need
Yeah,
to
like
be.
on the third repeat, over on the side, puke,
Yeah.
then run 3 more.
Yep, gotta keep
I
going.
puked during a swim set this last year. Kind of the grossest thing ever.
Yeah.
I was doing like 20 by
the
50.
pool?
I
In the
got
pool?
Oh god, I got
You have to
towards
use
the
the-
end. I got tunnel vision, and all of a sudden, luckily I was at the wall, went over, just puked over the side, like onto the platform, and then I was like, I'm gonna clean that up, and I just like went and cleaned it up for him. They brought over, we had to clean it out.
Ugh.
Well, I got a good puke story to go
Thank
into.
you,
Good
thank you,
puke story.
YMCA employees for
They're good people.
they're good people at the
We are
YMCA.
digressing quickly, but
We
here
are.
we go.
Here we go.
I'm a scuba diver, right? I do some scuba diving, but
Did you puke in your
but
scuba gear?
but I do not. I get seasick really easily. So I'm in Hawaii, and we're going out to Molokini Crater on Maui or something, where, it's you cross this big channel, and I just totally start getting seasick. And we get to the dive site, and I'm like, I'm getting in the water right now, or I'm gonna puke. And so throw on my gear, jump in, drop down to like 40 feet. And sure enough, okay, it's coming. I'm not going to stop it.
Oh, my
so,
gosh.
pull out my regulator, 40 feet underwater, puke everything out I have, swarm of fish.
I was going to say, chum the water, baby.
Chum the water.
that is
All these
disgusting.
fish are. And I'm like, okay, I put my regulator back in, realized, okay, not
How
a
do you
good idea.
puke underwater?
I know, that's
What was that
impressive.
sensation like?
It's terrible. I was supposed to leave my regulator in and puke through it.
Because the first thing you do after you puke is you want to
suck
get deep.
back in, and I'm 40 feet underwater.
Oh God.
But yeah, we had great fish for the rest of that dive.
Oh, I bet. Hey,
felt
Lance, do it
great
again.
afterwards. Hepler, go down and puke again.
Hey, that's a really good idea for fishing right there.
Okay, sorry, that was
That's a great digression.
diving puke story.
That's actually amazing that you're still here.
I'm still here.
I'm surprised you didn't die during that.
All right.
What number were we on? I don't even remember.
Number 9.
Thank God Jake's keeping track.
Equipment failure.
This is definitely one that probably people would come to mind, right? Like, I'm scared I'm going to have a flat tire during their whatever race, triathlon, blah blah blah, or I'm scared. I mean, all these things that you can't control.
Chain breaks.
That's
The day's
so.
over.
So if I was making this list, I know we agreed on 9 here. I'd put this as like my number 2.
Yeah.
This is the one thing I get anxiety about is jumping on that bike. That something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think it's probably worse for a triathlete because you guys put a lot of eggs in the basket of like one or two
day.
races a day, a year. Something goes sideways and you're screwed. You just did like 10, 12 months of training for
a
that.
flat tire.
Well, yeah, but the most common thing is flat tire, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, I had this thing with the slamming seat post the last 2 seasons, which ruined a couple. And it's tough for me because I'm not going to stop the race, but like.
Right.
Oh my God, there's no easier way to shoot your quads for the rest of the race than ride 20 miles out of the saddle.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
I remember watching Ironman Hawaii about 10 or 12 years ago, and Norman Stadler, who won it once or twice, is an Uber biker from Germany. He was leading the race on the bike, got a flat, and he could not get his tubular tire off the rim. He had everything to change the tire, but he could not get the tubular off the rim. It was just glued on too well.
In his defense, that's hard to get those off, especially if you're tired.
He lost it. He picked up his bike, chucked it into the lava field. He was like in tears, screaming. It's all caught right on camera.
Yeah.
That was a bad day. Leading Ironman Hawaii and
that's something that I've heard some of my triathlon friends talk about that, and like that because that's a very popular moment in triathlon. They'll say like, "Oh, what an overreaction," or anything. It's like until you're in that like that is 12 like
the number
Jake
of
said.
hours and the time, the money, everything invested in that.
Yeah.
That sucks.
That's an underreaction.
Yeah.
Like I'm surprised man just didn't snap his bike in half and be like, "I'll pay another $10,000. I don't care." That's
if I'm in a cyclocross
for free.
if I'm in a cyclocross race and I blow my front wheel, it's like, there's a race in 3 days.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna race again in 3 days. Okay, this sucks that this ended.
At the twilight of your Ironman career, at your last Kona, flattening.
That is a whole different.
It's like 20 years of training built up.
Thinking about this makes me nervous for next year's Ironman because Evan and I are both thinking about doing.
I'm getting
Ironman
pre-race
Canada.
anxiety thinking about this.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, what if I break a pedal? What if?
God.
It's like your race is
your
over.
crank arm falls off. That's it.
Yeah.
Race is over.
Yeah, you're not fixing that.
I mean, crazy stuff happens.
Insane stuff.
Halloween. Oh
Scary.
man, spooky times.
Crazy
Spooky,
people.
spooky.
This is a scary podcast, people.
All right, here's one that should invoke some scary, spooky vibes in you: dropping or losing your nutrition while in a race.
I'm not as scared as
I'm terrified
You're
of
terrified of that?
Okay, I'll tell you sort of why I'm terrified of that.
I have had this happen before.
Yeah, that happened to me a couple years ago at a 73 in Grand Rapids, and I made the decision to stay with the lead pack and not go back for the nutrition because I'm pretty smart at the age of 24, right? I definitely know what I'm doing. It's dumb. I'm an idiot. I dropped 2 gels in a bottle simultaneously. Ooh. It was incredible. Yeah, it was almost amazing how I lost this.
You're trying to hold too much stuff while biking.
Guess how many calories I took in for that entire 70.3?
You want me to really guess?
Take a stab.
I don't know.
I'm gonna guess 300.
I'm gonna guess.
That's actually on the dot, Jake. That's exactly how many I took in. I took in 2 Humas and half a bottle of Infinite or whatever I was taking at that time.
You should have taken in how much?
800 to 1200.
8 to 1200.
So I took in about a
300.
fourth of what I was supposed to.
Wow.
Made it through the race okay, but no, that's
you?
a lie. I did not. I started dying that last 5K. Yeah, really suffering.
Why not use a lot of the stuff that they have on course?
I was trying to, but I was trying to stay with the guy that I was running with, and I could only take in Coke in small doses.
Yeah,
so
Coke's not the answer, but usually you can find something else.
I just the gels are at the end of the table. They're a hard grab at that point. Just not thinking. I was young and just very stupid, racing very dumb.
I can do this.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, I mean,
I was like, this will be fine the whole race. Mile 10 comes. This is still okay. Now it's not okay.
I think for an Ironman, I kind of overpack on nutrition stuff.
Yeah.
And so, you lose something or whatever it is, you just grab whatever nutrition is available for, race day nutrition.
Yeah.
So they'll have Gatorade Endurance or whatever else they've got.
That's
Jake,
another one that
didn't you
scares
drop
me.
a bottle mid-race or lose a bottle and end up
this
cramping?
year at Kings Valley. The first lap into the 3-lap course of about 60 miles ish. kicked a bottle out of my bottle cage because my foot came out of the pedal. The cleat, brand new cleat somehow came decleated and it booted the bottle and it flew off to the side as I was trying to put an attack on the climb. And yeah, I pretty much had to do that whole race with one bottle, and that sucked because I cramped.
You cramped. Yeah.
Well, you're having
that.
cramping issues prior to that, so you needed those electrolytes.
Oh yeah, those were like.
And then, do you think some of those new cleats maybe slip out easier than the ones that have a little bit of wear on them?
You know what? I
Who knows?
Beforehand, I would have said no. Now I think that's plausible that could be a thing. I mean, it was a touch wet out there too, so sometimes that can kind of skew things a little bit. But
I'm just thinking of like you get a little bit of the scuff on the pedal on the cleats.
Yep.
And maybe they stick a little bit better. I don't know.
Does everybody here write? What does everybody write here? I read Speed Plays. Anybody else
Do you
do
really?
Speed Plays? Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I love
ride
Speed
Speed
Plays.
Play.
I think they're the best. I love them.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'm going to be
On my
biased.
road bikes.
I've only ever ridden Speed Play.
I ride the Look Kios, which is
Okay.
basically the same setup as the Garmin Vector, and that's what I switched over to was the Vector. I tried the Speed Plays for about a year, and I hated them.
Really?
Yep.
What'd you not like about them? What'd you say?
I just getting in and out of them is more of a hassle, and I actually developed some knee pain. So and then I went to and basically it's Expedo.
Yeah.
They're the same thing basically as a Look Keo, and then jumped over to Look Keo, then to Garmin, and all three of those iterations I have had zero problems.
So when I was riding this last week and I was on my buddy's bike and he wears the same size shoe as me, so I was riding SBDs for the first time.
Yeah, how do you like that?
I'd never ridden SBDs before. Hated them because I could not get in and out of them. I was able to.
Not used to it.
But I was so slow getting in and out of those, and I think it's just whatever you get used to is what you like.
Like
Speed Plays
muscle
for me,
memory.
I don't even have to think about getting into a Speed Play, and it's
So the Look cleat is a little bit smaller, and usually the way that they're balanced, the back end of the pedal will droop down, and it'll leave the
that would
front
be
clip-in
nice.
part exposed, right? So that when you slide your foot up in there, it hits that spot where it goes in, and you just step down. It's a real quick, simple process. So I think that those are
I ride Look, Garmin
Look,
Vector. It's good. Yep. I've been on those for a long time. I've considered Speed Play because a lot of the triathletes,
it seems to be popular in triathlon.
nerd style.
Yeah,
It's supposed
to each his own.
Yeah,
Yep,
it's maybe
exactly.
more aerodynamic. Don't know.
maybe.
Let's move on to the next one. Let's see here. I was going to come back and say something on that last one, but I'll just let
Equipment
it slide.
Tracking nutrition.
Missing the break at number 7.
This is not a huge fear for me on my triathlons. No, but in bike races, I don't think it's my biggest fear. Only, thinking of like you guys race a little bit more competitively on the bike than I do, so it's probably a little.
This
bit
is a
more
big
of
Jake
fear.
and Lance fear, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially for Jake this last road season with how dominant you were. I mean, there were
You really have
teams
to watch.
planning around getting breaks away without you in them.
Yeah.
So you're kind of on your
with us
toes.
and
That
other teams.
Yeah, you're kind of anxious that entire time, waiting for some move to go.
Yeah, but for the most part, before I got moved up to Cat 2, I knew that with the teammates that I had out there, that anything that anybody was going to try, we could answer that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Not for nothing, but we were more the protagonist than anybody else.
Right.
Then
You
then I got bumped up to Cat 2, and then I had to go out and race with the P12s. Then I was the only person out there, and there's all the teams and the tactics going down there. I had a much greater fear at that level of missing the break.
Of missing the big move, yeah.
Because if like 3 or 4 or 5 guys got off, I mean, I'm not going to be able to reel those guys back in. And if anything, they're just going to put me up front to use me to get back up to them, and I'm not going to be able to answer that. So
Yeah.
until I get some more people and will A, get healthy and be able to race at that level again, and B, get some more people racing up there with me. I mean, I've got friends that got moved up as well, but they're on other teams. They're not going to help me.
No.
So it's going to be a fear of mine for the races once I get back out there and I can start racing again, of missing the break. It's going to suck if it happens.
We got this guy over here who probably can help you out at some point. I think his name is Lance.
Seriously, goes by Lance Romance.
I think he does. Yeah.
I'm a Cat 5.
You're still a Cat 5?
I'm still a Cat 5 on
Wait,
the
are you
road.
seriously still a Cat
Wait,
5 on the
yeah.
road?
Hey, Lance, we
Oh
can
my
race
gosh.
together.
Yeah.
You want to pull me?
Yeah, let's go.
That'd be awesome.
This
gonna be
we
sick.
actually
You guys
should.
are seriously
You
going to be in the
two
same
really-
category next year, huh?
You guys should actually do a road race together. We can have
I
a
know.
really
It's
fun
gonna be
podcast
great.
about that.
Yeah.
Lance, you're going to destroy those poor guys in the 4.5s. It's not even
No,
going to be
he's
fun.
got to watch
nice.
out for me, man.
Be
What are you
nice.
talking about?
I need-
Destroy those guys.
I need you to upgrade in like 2 races so that we can race together because I'm only doing a couple road races this year in the spring, and I need you to be there.
You could probably ask to bounce yourself
I
up.
probably could.
You can't. You have to in the
You have
road.
to
You
go
have
through
to
it?
earn the points. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll race 5.
Did you do any? You didn't do any road racing this year, did you? At all?
Nope.
You should just go from the gun.
All I did was the PIR races, and those points don't count
Mildly
as
count.
much.
We got to do
Mildly,
over-unders on gaps for wins for Lance this year.
Well, how do you want to play that? Do you want to just go from the gun? I mean, you really could go anytime you want.
I don't know.
So-
There's always stronger people in there than you
There
think.
are. There's some good
Last
people
year
there.
when you
yeah,
had
there's always those.
the likes of Chris Hamill and Sean Martin,
Yeah.
and we sent them off. Well, we had the big, huge team presence out there at Dirty Circles, and we talked about this earlier in the year, but we had guys that we were sending off in pairs and just attacking, and then the whole group would chase them down, and then finally they sent Chris and Sean together, and they jumped the field, and I think they won by 2 or 3 minutes.
It's stuck.
It's
Yeah.
stuck, but
yeah.
you and Matt could do that kind of stuff this year, and we're going to have a bunch of people.
Let's not go throwing me under the bus here.
Hey, Matt,
come
sit on his
on,
wheel.
I gotta hang out with you on the Zwift trainer and get a little bit more fitness. I am not in a good place right now. But,
This will be fun. I'm
yeah,
seriously
we'll have
looking
fun.
forward to this. So.
Yeah.
We'll have fun.
All right. Number 6 is kind of like what we just talked about. It's just getting dropped.
This is a way bigger fear for me.
this is-
than
It's a
missing
different
the
fear
break.
than missing the break. It's a very different fear. Yeah.
It's a real fear, for sure.
Yeah, getting dropped is way worse than missing the break because you miss the break. Sometimes the field will pull the break back and you'll be okay. You get dropped and you're on your own.
Yeah, you are very on your own.
And there's no getting back
It's
unless
very difficult.
Unless somehow your legs
some
come back.
superhuman guy or the race gets neutralized up there and you can
Yes.
catch him and you're not coming back.
This
from
is
that.
this is the amazing thing to me about pro racing too is when you look at so late in those races when you have a guy get a flat in like the last let's say 20 or 40K of some of these flat races that lead to a sprint finish, that peloton is moving at 27, 28 miles an
Yeah.
hour. These guys will get a flat, change the flat, and somehow bridge that gap, which means they're time trialing at like 30 miles an hour
They're
for like
also
5 to
using
10
the
minutes.
team cars and they'll have
Yes.
teammates that come back to them and help them out.
Absolutely. I mean, it's pretty incredible sitting behind a car how much of a draft you can get. But
Yeah.
I mean, if they're actually watching for that, which I know they don't always, like that's a crazy gap to try and fill there.
Just to make I'm sorry, Lance, to step on your toe, but just to make a point to that point about
Yeah.
using the cars. How many of you guys have a KOM because you sat on some sort of vehicle?
I have a dozen.
I practice integrity with Strava, so I do that.
Sorry, Lance, I didn't mean to step on your toes. So what were you going to say, bud?
I've been dropped on so many races and like, why did I come out here today?
You're
you
like,
know,
I could bike by
I
myself
could
anytime
bike
I
by
want.
myself and it wouldn't cost me $40 to come through this race.
Yeah.
because I just got dropped. That's happened to me
Yeah.
a lot. So it's
Not
just
going to happen this year, my friend.
fear.
I've got this is a non-cycling getting dropped. I absolutely have a terrifying fear of not making even the main swim backpack this year. I have a real fear of that right now.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have a hard time, I think.
That's why I'm just spending way too much time in the pool. So
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but you'll be fine. Like keep in mind that triathlon is a bit of an individual sport. You're time trialing on the bike,
Yeah.
so yeah.
yeah, well, you're supposed to be time trialing by yourself on the bike.
I think
So
you should
we'll
do
get
your own.
Lance one of those special scuba gears. That
There we go.
It doesn't the water, the bubbles don't come up. You know,
Yes.
it hides them all.
propeller.
And then we'll
But-
get him one of those little things that he can hold on to with a little propeller on
I'm
it.
just
and
gonna
give you a
hold
little
on
tow
to it.
leash, and he'll just be down there just cruising along, and like all of a sudden Evans like
Good.
hydroplaning on the top
Like,
of the
oh my
water.
gosh, having
"Look
to
at
swim a
this Evan
16-minute
Price guy. He
2K.
can
That's
fly."
incredible.
You can't puke in a rebreather though.
Can't use that.
Can't use that.
That's no good for Lance.
I'd have to swim out from the shore. I couldn't go out in a boat.
It's a whole lot easier to puke in the open water than the pool, too. You know, I mean, it's much more appropriate there.
Oh, jeez. Any more getting dropped stories, guys?
I have 100 of them, but I'm not going to tell anymore.
There's
It makes
nothing
me
more
feel bad about
embarrassing than like the
myself.
group ride. Like the group ride getting dropped. I know that's a fear, but like for any like beginners listening, that is something like everybody at this table's gone through that, right? Like the group
Yes.
ride get dropped. Like you're early on. I think I still remember we went on a ride and this was in Dayton, Ohio, on this hilly course that we had, which at that time might as well have been climbing Mount Rainier to me. It was probably like 4,000 feet of climbing. I got dropped so hard on that. The guys who came back with me decided to leave me. Like I was that bad. There's like, you're a good kid. Like go ahead. That's
Good times. And I said I was only going to say that one more time.
That's
But
two.
There you go.
This is spooky. Yeah.
All right.
That's his filler word for when it gets
Scary
spooky.
stuff. Exactly. I'm scared. Shaking in my boots. Number 5, race pain. This one I can associate with because, man, sometimes does it hurt. And the anxiety of knowing that you're going to hurt like Lance already alluded to earlier, that one sucks.
Yeah, that is definitely a fear for people getting into racing or riding and whatnot. The fact that it's going to hurt.
It's a legit fear too, where you're like, I'm going to go run a 10K and hurt hard for 40, 50 minutes, whatever their times are, whatever it is. They're like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Some of us probably don't. When you're thinking about a cyclocross race and it's going to hurt for 45 minutes or whatever it is, like you're probably okay with it in some regards, right? Because you do it 3 times a week,
right?
But
I still, when I line up on that start line, I'm like,
no, it's gonna hurt.
This is gonna hurt.
Yeah,
but here we go. It's also what draws me to it.
Yeah,
because it's a
you're a masochist.
It's a good pain. Yes.
Well, I mean,
for
so
sure.
think about that post-race feeling. I mean, that's a flood of endorphins, and
Correct.
the reason that's a flood of endorphins is because your body's pretty. I mean, without getting too into the woods with all that and like neurophys stuff, you're basically your body's happy you're not hurting anymore.
Right. So it floods it with endorphins.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, yeah.
Exactly. That's why that end of the race, like nobody's ever gotten to the end of a really hard race and been like, I feel terrible right now. You do, but you feel happy at the same
You're
time.
a little bit elated, yes.
Yes.
I can definitely speak to what Lance just said there, but I almost thrive off of that, which is kind of a weird thing because
you're a masochist.
you're not supposed to. But for me, it's like, all right, I know it's going to hurt, and you know what? I know everybody else knows it's going to hurt as well. I like to be able to hurt a little bit more than your average guy. And I like to be able to hurt a little bit more than the guys that are going to be right up there with me, and see who can last a little bit longer. And I almost kind of feed off of that.
Yeah.
The part that bothers me is when that basically rolls into like something like a body cramp or a cramp in your calf or your hamstring.
Right.
That for me is much worse than the fear of knowing that something's going to hurt, because I'll go lay it down. I've done STP. We've hammered that whole thing, finished in 9.5 hours, 206 miles. That hurt, but you know what? It was fun. It might take a day or two before you want to do it again, but it's just a weird paradigm that I enjoy suffering a little bit more than the next guy.
Yeah. It's a good little like paradigm for life too. I mean, really, it is like it's a good little training practice to do for life.
Yeah,
that's why like even people love to do this sport recreationally, which I'm all for. Even just jumping into a couple races just to experience that is fun. I mean, really, like I think I've been telling you guys, my dad has been racing cyclocross this year and has been racing every weekend over the last couple months.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, he's finishing dead last or close to it each race. But every single time we talk on the phone, he tells me, what he did, what he could do better, and he's getting better every race. And he says it hurts each time he goes out there. But I love seeing that he's going out there getting last and hurting every single time, but getting through the race. So, yeah.
Endurance sports are about pain management.
Yeah.
Yep.
How much pain can you manage?
Yeah.
How much pain can you take?
It's a great metaphor for life. Yeah.
Same thing. Same thing with success.
Comfort with the
business
uncomfortable.
or life or whatever. You've got to be able to suffer for the reward.
Yeah.
So
nobody's made it through like very successfully in life and achieved a bunch of things and been like, that was pretty comfortable. Never really had an early morning.
It's fun finding that threshold of what the difference between like suffering and being in pain and failure. Like when your body just goes into complete failure, it's like, and you can't do anything else. Like you put it all out there, and that's kind of fun to find that sometimes, even though that really hurts. But it's just kind of a weird thing that we all like to do to ourselves.
Which leads us to our next one in our list, number 4, which is a very different kind of pain, which is very fearful, an overuse injury.
Or just injuries, in general.
Talking about walking that line carefully when we're talking about the overuse.
That's the thing is like, you put me in an hour race and ask me to hurt, that's fine, no problem. And then it's like, something cramped. Like something went wrong in the engine. Like that's not good. Like I'm okay with working the engine hard, and we can go to the vomit stage, the crying stage, whatever. Those are all okay.
The
as soon as the
stage,
the crapping your pants stage, something,
the dumping stage.
But you have a stress fracture, or you have cramping, a muscle cramp, where you're like, oh damn, the engine's gonna stop. Like this is not good.
That's how I ended up in cycling. Was too many overuse injuries from just flogging my body in endurance sports or in sprint power sports for years. That's how I ended up in cycling.
Yeah.
So
you got to remind yourself too, it's not if, but when you're going to injure yourself. It's just going to happen. If you're going to participate in these sports, it's something to some degree is going to happen, and you've got to learn how to get through it. And
this is where like, as a PT, it's really hard to have this conversation with endurance athletes, because I see So I treat the gauntlet of people. I treat your typical very sedentary chronic pain patient, and then probably 50% of my caseload now is endurance athletes. So it's kind of, I'm going from one spectrum to the other there. But I've realized there's actually some similarities between how they approach pain, but it's from a different spectrum. So your marathon runner is terrified of an injury because it's going to take away something that they enjoy.
Yep.
Your chronic pain patient is just scared of hurting, period.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different world and mindset to get into, because the chronic pain patient, I just have to convince them that pain isn't the end of the world. The endurance athlete is well acquainted with pain on a regular basis and is fine with it. But I have to convince them that, especially people really getting the sports who maybe haven't run at the level that Matt has, they need to understand that running is by its nature pain. Running is Eliud Kipchoge has a great quote about how running is life, but that's a really deep quote. Endurance sports is life. You're not going to go through a whole season and be like, yep, never once hurt. Nothing hurt. No, Achilles were fine. Yeah, knees were fine. Hips were fine. Back felt great the entire time. There's going to be what I've been trying to reframe that to my patients and not call it injuries and call it, this is your tissue tolerance period. Now, there hits a point where it's an injury. Like, I'm not going to argue that a stress fracture is you went over that line a couple too many times.
Yeah.
But there's definitely this process that your body has to develop, even for your elite athletes, that it has to go through that process each season, each cycle of training. And it's something that I think endurance athletes are all scared of, because it's going to take away what you love, which is riding a bicycle, running fast, swimming, everything like that. Yeah. It's the fear of taking that away from you.
Yeah, definitely a real fear. Jake was saying earlier, like, hey, this is going to happen if you do it. Next one on our list is number 3, which is a bike crash. If you do this sport long enough,
odds are,
if you have not crashed yet,
you're the luckiest human being alive.
You are going to.
If you haven't crashed, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've had a few in my day.
How many have you
how
had,
about you?
Jake? How many have you had?
Like serious bike
Yeah.
crashes? Well, I'm not going to say this last one was a bike crash when I got hit by the car. That's a whole separate thing. But not too many that were bad. I mean, I've said it before on the podcast before, when I broke my hip, the femoral neck in my hip, had a deer come out in the trail, and she went one way and I tried to go another, and that way was down, landed on a rock and broke my hip. I mean, that was a pretty good crash, but I haven't had any like true, like really like bad yard sale crashes. Well, there was the Cherry Pie Road Race. That was a pretty bad crash. That was probably up there.
That was mostly a road rash crash, though, right?
Yeah,
hip problems and
you
banged your head.
Yeah, well, no, actually, I my helmet was spotless after that.
Oh,
it was the hip. I do remember you.
Yeah, it was my hip and my back and ribs. There was a lot of
your
stuff.
Ribs were hurt.
I had to go in and get some X-rays to make sure that nothing was broken, and it just was a long healing process. And by long, that was a short healing process compared to what I'm at now, comparatively speaking. But yeah, those are probably the worst ones for me. But what about you guys?
I have never had a serious crash on a road bike. Knock on wood, yes. And it used to freak me out that I've ridden so much, I've done so many miles, I take a lot of chances.
Yeah.
And I've never had like a serious crash. I've crashed several times, but nothing, it's always just skin.
Yeah.
I've never injured something, I've just lost skin.
Yeah. I think of like going down and crashing as almost two different things. I've had like a little go down. We were riding with a group of some local cyclists, and we were over on the Burnt Bridge Creek Trail, and there's like a little bridge crossing.
I remember this.
And there was like a big branch sticking out over the bridge, and kind of came off the little tacky, like it's almost like a grip tape that they put on there, and hit the wood. Oh my gosh, you hit that wood and it was like ice, like someone poured Vaseline all over ice and just like instantly went down.
Yeah.
And like all of us just piled up on top of each other, so there was nowhere to go. And another time over at the Fallen Leaf Lake, you come down those switchbacks, and then there's the little bridges that are kind of on the flat spot. Again, winter time, it's all like snotty, and I was over there riding because the other trails were kind of closed, and that one's kind of okay to ride on. Hit the wood on those things, and the bike just went right out from underneath me, like straight down to the ground. I'm like, that sucked. So
I think those, like especially around here, those like winter when the road is pretty wet, like sliding out is a pretty common crash.
Right now with all of the leaves falling on the ground, that stuff is like slippery as all get out.
Yesterday
Yeah,
I
put
was
you on your
biking
butt.
so slow down the hill on my little, I was like, people, if Jake pulls up, I was scared you were going to drive behind me and just laugh at me. I was going like
riding the
5
brakes.
miles an hour, riding the brakes, because there was like wet leaves down. And it
not
was kind of
worth
one of
it,
those
yeah.
things where it was like, it was in between rain showers, so the road was just wet and ready for slick.
I had a very different descent on that same day. I was going down a gravel descent. It was very dry. Same fear, though.
Dry.
Definitely with that gravel descent. I'm
Yes.
holding on for dear life.
The bike crash is a real fear. Now, on this podcast, number 2, I don't know if this is a real fear or not. Open water swimming.
Why are people freaked out from open water swimming? Is it because
This
of
is-
sharks?
No,
Is it
I have-
shark fear?
Shark attacks are real. Loch Ness Monster.
I have a couple people listening to this
Loch Ness.
that know what my
Yeah.
great fear with open water swimming is. I'm terrified of sea lions.
Oh,
I have a very real fear of sea lions.
I do not have a fear of sea lions.
I have a group text of friends who will send me pictures of sea lions all the
Mess
time.
with you.
Oh,
Leading-
it's on.
Leading
now,
up, I'm gonna get my Facebook will get bombarded with sea lion pictures now.
man.
So leading up to Santa Cruz,
Oh,
73. I did not know this right before the race. That pier in the middle that you swim around is inundated with sea lions.
Oh my gosh.
All sea lions
How did you
all
survive?
hang out. I didn't know that they were there
Ignorance is bliss.
until after the race. Now the fun thing is going into this next year, I'm going to be doing that race again, and I now definitely know that those sea lions are there. Have you guys seen those things hunt? They're incredible.
Sorry.
They swim they're so fast and they're sneaky. So like when they come up to, they're not like the sharks that'll stalk behind you to get you. They apparently come up from underneath to
You're
get their
not
prey,
helping your
which is
situation, Evan.
terrifying.
that's just something you hear about in the news all the time. Swimmers getting eaten by sea lions.
Especially a
There
pack of
in
racers.
San Francisco this
Never.
last year, there were more sea lion attacks than shark attacks.
Oh my god.
Really?
Mark it down. I'm not making that up.
Oh my
I've
god.
Yes, you
never
are.
heard of a single human
making
being.
I'm not making this up.
You know what's really crazy?
Everybody
Just having
fact
a
check
bad
me on
nightmare.
this.
Bad nightmare.
Fawn Leaf Lake is about a quarter mile long, and there's about 400 sea lions
Oh
in
my
that, in that freshwater
It's
lake.
only like 8
Well,
feet
I'm
deep.
going to swim
about 8
across
feet
the
deep.
Columbia
Did
this
you-
next
are you?
season,
Okay.
and all my friends at work are now telling me like, sea lions come up that river, and they're going to get you.
And they're looking for Evan. Which one's Evan? Which one's
They're
Evan?
hungry when they come up that river,
Yeah.
They
So
go up there to hunt all the piranha, right? So
Yeah. At least with the shark, like I know what the shark's going to do. I'm not scared of the shark.
Yeah.
The shark will come, and if it gets my leg, I'm dead. There's no way I'm surviving that. The sea lion, though.
there's so many open water swimmers that have kind of like, just like Evan, like unrealistically crazy fears.
very
of the-
realistically crazy fears.
Sure, buddy. But like, they're swimming in a lake and they're like, I'm scared of sharks. Like they're like, you get in the water and it's like
In a
irrational
pond.
thoughts start to come around, right?
not being able to see the bottom.
Yeah.
Bottom.
or,
I just-
not being able to, the water not being real clear.
But that is why I love open water swimming. It's the same idea when we talked about that race, you're about to overcome like a big pain.
Fear.
Open water swimming to me is that same way. Like once you get out of that water, you like overcame being in an area where humans definitely aren't at an advantage. The fastest human being in the world is probably the slowest thing in the water, period.
So you remember that thing that you're going to tow Evan?
Oh yeah.
yeah.
We're going to dress you up.
Rebreather.
We're going to dress you up
Like a
in the
sea
sea
lion.
lion. Yes. And then you could
You
torment
wouldn't
the
even
crap out of him.
You wouldn't even need to tow me. I would just swim fast enough to stay with the group then at that point.
Exactly. You just chase him, sit back there. Arr, 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 arr.
All right. Should we move on?
Open water swimming.
I'm nice and scared now. We can move on. Yeah.
Gee, what could number one be?
Oh, I don't even want to say this one.
Anybody ever been hit by a car before?
This is the big fear, right? Like, we put radars on the back of our bikes. We do crazy stuff, light ourselves up like Christmas trees.
Yep.
We do all these things. We, smile and wave when we really want to curse them out. But getting hit by a car, the biggest fear on the list. Number one.
Yep.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Jake, I've gone by that spot that you got hit now twice on rides with Dustin and David.
Uh-huh.
We point out each time we are so incredibly careful going by that spot now. But it's eerie when you know that sort of stuff has happened in certain locations and just
Yeah. I still haven't been over there. I still have no memory of it. And
Yeah.
I still need to go back there and just see it just to kind of get over that.
yeah.
I think, though, I'm going to wait for the first time that to be me on a bike as opposed to being out there in
Going
a car.
back, yeah.
Just go back and do it. But
Yeah.
I'm still waiting, though, for somebody to tell me, like, hey, I found your Oakleys in the bushes. Like, if you're looking for a nice
I
pair
can
of
stop
Oakleys,
by there. Yeah.
they're over there. I'm telling you. Go
the
find them
bushes
somewhere.
Yeah.
Might be in a blackberry bush, but hey, they're there.
Yeah.
Our Saturday Masters ride specifically avoided that section. Like, hey, aren't we going this way? No, we're not going that way.
Never again.
We're going this way. All right.
Wait, Sean was on that ride too, right?
He was.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the number one Halloween fear right now.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know. Like, how do we've talked about this on this podcast so much, like, because this isn't one of those fears you can just brush off and say, like, all right,
It's real.
just do, like, the sea lion fear is ridiculous. I'll admit, like, that is ridiculous to me to be scared. But like, this is a
getting
very
by a car.
real fear. Yeah.
Yeah.
For a lot of cyclists
So
now,
Evan's going to be
unfortunately.
having nightmares tonight of sea lions
So
driving
many
cars,
nightmares.
hitting him
So
while he's
many
driving.
That's my greatest fear, is getting hit by a sea lion driving a car.
My nightmare is going to be puking through the scuba regulator
After he pooped his pants.
after I
There you
crap
go.
my pants.
Matt, what is your nightmare going to be tonight?
All of these. It's not going to be a good night tonight of sleep.
Dropping
for sure.
nutrition.
Yes.
All right, let's carry on with our spooky theme. Our next topic is times you've been spooked while on a ride, run, or a swim.
People have been chased by dogs here. Everybody here has been chased by a
Oh,
dog, right,
yeah.
on the bike.
Yeah.
Matt, don't you have a story where you got chased by a dog running?
Oh yeah,
That is
absolutely.
much worse. That is terrifying.
Well, no, that happens if you grow up running in Alabama in the country, you like so we're talking, anyone that listens to this podcast that runs in the country is going to have a dog chasing
Ada,
story.
Ohio, same thing, yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, I grew to learn, like, here's what you do: you pick up a stick, you pick up a rock or whatever it is, and you face the dog that's chasing you, and they'll usually back down. When they don't, you're in for a round.
I don't know if you're going to remember this, Matt, but the
Yeah.
very first time, or one of the very first times that you and I rode together, it might have been the first time, you, myself, and Corey Duncan, we
Yeah,
were
that was our
coming
first time, yeah.
down Gibson onto Evergreen,
Okay.
In the Washougal area, for all those that are listening along here and want to know geographically where we're at. But anyway, we're coming down, and I heard this dog, bark, 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 and
Yeah.
I think I was on front, on point, and you might have been like a bike length or two. I think actually it was like me, then Corey, then you,
Okay.
and the dog came running out from a house on Evergreen. And I remember you just
scary.
You just like were, oh my God, that was so close. Like the dog came pretty close to you.
Yeah. I've had a couple run-ins with dogs
Yeah.
for sure. And I think, like, if you can think about it, to get to the water bottle and squirt it with water, that'll stun them.
The squirt is
for sure.
usually a pretty good move.
Yeah. But, I mean,
That's actually a good. I never really thought of that. That's a good one.
Well, or throw your water bottle right at them and just let go
we used
of
to
that
have
water
to
bottle.
go with there was this climb we used to do in Ohio, and at the end of the climb there was this house where this dog, I think people had even gone up and asked the woman, like, you
Yep.
need to get an electrical fence. This dog would chase every single cyclist coming up this climb, and this was a very popular climb to do in the area, and we would always get our water bottles ready. It was either that or you had to sprint. So it was like a 4-6% maybe end of this climb. And I mean, there were a couple times you're putting out 400 or 500 watts for a good 2 minutes to try and stay away from this dog. And, you're like trying to reach for your bottle and squirt him. And I don't know if he was actually ever going to attack us, but he sure looked like he was like willing to go at
It's
it.
just the getting tangled in the bike fear.
Yeah.
Like when you're going downhill.
Yeah.
There was one of the triathletes that, there's a hill in somewhere where we ride just basically up north of here, and it was like this big downhill, and some dog came out, grabbed her wheel, and she went down going 30 miles an hour or whatever. Who was that? It wasn't Darby, was it? There was one of our triathlete friends a couple years back, but it's a serious fear. You can get some bad injuries for sure.
We did a team ride out in near the Dalles last year. Remember when we had, it was like 14 or 15 of us?
Yeah.
And we got to the 7-mile climb.
I got dropped on that climb.
Well, we were coming.
This was
double
two
fear.
fears.
That's all I remember.
Getting chased by a dog.
dropped.
Getting dropped.
We did the gravel climb that was a part of the Gorge Roubaix race that was out there, and then we hung a right once that ended, and we went up to the very top of that climb, and then there's a long descent. I think they call it like 7-mile climb. But we went down.
We went down it.
And there was a bunch of like hipster looking dudes that
I
were
remember.
up there, and they descended before us, and we just got on it coming down, and we caught every single one of those guys. And I remember coming down that road at about 40 miles an hour, and I was catching the last guy, and I'd just overtaken him, and there was a little house off to the right, and this little dog came jetting out, and that dog, like by like an inch or two, missed his wheel, and like he screamed and I screamed, and like there was explicatives, and everybody was like, oh my God, we almost just went down right there because of a stupid like little dachshund wiener dog looking thing.
Getting out.
That scared the bejesus out of both of us. It's like, what do you do if a little dog runs out, or a dog in general, and you're going 40 miles an hour on your bike? I mean,
If you live on a house
you're going that fast.
on a road that is not like residential 25-mile-an-hour road, and you have a dog that just randomly runs away from your house all the time, like, use half a brain cell and get an electric fence, or put the dog inside, or bring him outside on a leash.
Yeah.
Like, how stupid are you as a dog owner?
Yeah. The only thing that I could think of after was like, could I have bunny hopped it? Would I have cleared it
That
at
would have
40
been
miles
the
an hour?
coolest story ever. That would have been the best
What
story.
would Peter Sagan do?
Yeah. He would wheelie over him.
You know, I usually turn into them, and then they will slow down or like adjust their trajectory,
Yeah.
and then sprint away.
Yeah.
See, Lance, that's for people with quick reaction time. Now,
Yes.
see, with me, all I see is, oh, dog, and he's gone now. There you go.
If you're going downhill going 40,
Yeah,
you
can't.
got nothing.
Yeah.
Has anybody had, so this is a wild, so you've all, I'm sure, seen the photos of when a squirrel will run through the spokes and what happens to the squirrel and it flips you over the bike and terrible things.
Yeah.
I had a squirrel once. No lie, this was back in Ohio. This thing ran through my spokes fast enough to where it was just like a clip. It was just like, you just heard a ring. It was like a ring of the spoke. Yeah, it was that noise.
Oh my gosh.
Scared. Like, I didn't even have time to be scared. It was like 30 seconds later I realized what happened. I was like, oh my God.
Squirrel mitosis?
Yes.
Squirrel mitosis?
Yes.
Now 2 cells?
I think he survived. I'm pretty sure. I mean, the guy, it's amazing that squirrel left with his life and me, because he would have sent me straight over the handlebars. But
I've never hit anything on my bike that was alive. On my road bike, mind you. On my mountain bike, that's a different story.
oh yeah,
Deer.
I almost hit the deer. I narrowly missed her. She missed me, whatever. But I've hit birds. I've hit squirrels and rabbits, chipmunks, and I've hit snakes before. And, yeah. Like, bunny hopped some pretty big rattlesnakes. That was pretty common down in Southern California.
Yeah.
And most of them are like, just like your average size snake. I've run over some of the ones that are like as big as like a man's bicep. Those ones scared the crap out of you for some reason. They're just massive.
do they have enough reaction time? I mean, are they fast enough to like
if they're
jump
not
at you?
if they're not coiled, you're safe.
Okay.
I've come around a couple times, and that's usually when you grab all kinds of brakes, or if you can't stop, then you just hammer it and you bunny hop them and you pray that they don't come after you.
Well, a lot of
that's
times
scary.
they're using the trail to get sun, right? So they're going
Yeah.
to stretch out on the trail, which makes them perfect for bunny hopping.
Yeah.
Which makes them
It does.
perfect.
No, I mean, so like I've jumped a lot of snakes running.
Yeah.
Because you're running, if you're coming downhill or whatever, and you're going 6-minute pace,
Yeah.
you can you
Does
can come up on
Does
stuff
that 6-minute
quickly.
pace become like 5:20 pretty quick right after that?
No, because it's all you need to do is get
Past
5
them.
feet away. Like it's just like one big bound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be like, and then you're yelling to your buddies, "Oh, bleep bleep bleep!" Like
Yep.
snake.
Well, that was
Snake.
one of my very first interactions with the snake. Was that we were coming down some switchback trails in Aliso Woods down in California, and I was in front of my buddy, and I thought he was right behind me, and 10 seconds or something like that. So I came down, and this snake was actually sprawled out just like Matt said, and I bunny hopped him, and he was one of those big dogs. And then as soon as I did that pissed him off, and he
Then they
curled up
coil
right in the
up,
middle
yeah.
of the sign, and I was scared as hell that my friend was going to come around and this thing was going to strike him, because I mean this was a big diamond head rattlesnake, and it's like
Yeah.
so I'm screaming, Jay, you careful, and like it turns out Jason crashed in the bushes, and so he was like 30 minutes and I was able to get his attention, and like he came down, I'm like stop, and we're getting sticks and we're poking him off the trail, and he finally got around, and
It's
all's
the second
well.
person through, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah so
Yeah.
because I pissed him off and I didn't want Jason to get bit, so yeah fun.
Oh,
All right,
snakes.
back to
Snake talk.
spooky stories.
Spooky snake
Any
talk.
spooky swims, you guys?
I saw a snake on top of the water
Oh,
at
God.
Fallen Leaf Lake when swimming
What?
there.
Like
Yeah,
a moccasin kind of thing, or
What?
was
I don't know that. I don't feel like this area has a lot of moccasin, but it was a snake on top of the water. So I don't know what it was. And it was right where we like start our swims. That was a little spooky. A little.
Ugh.
I think it was Halloween evening. Just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
And it was being held by a sea lion.
Haven't you heard of the Camus
This is
anacondas?
I've never even had a run-in with a sea lion. That's the thing.
evil witch was riding
My
a
only
sea lion.
run-ins with sea lions was when I went to Astoria and got to see them hanging out, which those
Okay.
are cool sea lions.
Pause
Nightmare,
real
though.
quick.
Yeah.
Why sea lions, dude? What is it about a sea lion that scares you?
I will explain this fear. So this is not a fear that ever keeps me from doing something, but it is something that actually I really do
started
think
somewhere.
about. I really do think about now.
Yeah.
So when we were, this starts with a story that my buddy had told when we were back in Ohio. I think he was swimming, it was either Tennessee or the Ohio River, I can't remember, and he saw an alligator gale. while he was swimming. This is his story. People don't believe him because alligator gills really generally aren't
It's like
in
a
that
fish
region.
that looks a little bit like an alligator.
Yeah,
right?
they're actually kind of a terrifying fish to look
Yeah.
at. It's basically like if a fish grew an alligator head is what it looks
Yeah.
like. And they can get pretty big. They can get very big, actually. And he said he was swimming, looked over, and saw this thing kind of pop up in the water. So, that was right when I was open water swimming a lot, just kind of developed a little bit of anxiety with that sometimes. And then when I came out here and started open water swimming a bunch, I went to Astoria for a couple straight weekends.
Right.
And there's anybody who's been to Astoria, Oregon, where The Goonies was filmed, actually, there's this big area where all these sea lions come together. And they're these big, powerful looking creatures, very big, powerful looking creatures. And my buddy was joking with me. He's like, hey, one of these days, you go out and just swim to that buoy out there next to this restaurant called Buoy. He's like, and I'll give you $100. Well, there's a bunch of sea lions hanging out at this buoy. So at first I was like, absolutely, I'll do this. I had no fear of sea lions.
The restaurant actually has a clear plexiglass window in the
so
floor
cool.
where you can look down and see the sea lions.
It's like my nightmare on
Yes.
It's like my worst nightmare, a restaurant with a hole through it where sea lions are looking up at you. And so I'm sitting there watching for a little bit thinking like, maybe one of these I actually will try to swim out that buoy. I'm watching these sea lions move. There's this seagull thing or bird that comes down to grab a fish. And this sea lion sees this bird coming. You can see him. He's on the pier and he kind of, on the buoy, he dives in, tracks where this bird's going. This bird goes to grab a fish.
Oh, no.
And the sea lion comes up and grabs the bird and brings him under. It was the smoothest hunting move I've ever seen an animal do in my entire life. And at that moment, I kind of developed this I was like, that was incredible and terrifying. That sea lion just covered 50 feet in no time.
So there are a lot of sea lion attacks on swimmers in Southern California?
This is in
real
San
fear.
Francisco.
This is a fair.
Is what it is. Yes.
San
I
Francisco.
lived in Southern California for 40 years and never heard a single story.
Jake's eyes do not believe me here. It's San Francisco, not Southern California.
Okay.
There's a lot of them in that Bay Area.
Well, they're going to like colder water.
There's an article that says there were more sea lion attacks on humans this last year than shark attacks. Now that just may have meant it was a really light year on shark attacks in the Bay Area, but yeah,
now I'm scared.
Watch
Thank you.
watch some videos of
Thank
them.
you for that fear.
Watch some videos of them, and they're terrifying.
Well, if you think of them like they're hunting you.
Yeah, you know what else is terrifying? Orcas.
Yeah. Well.
That is a legitimate fear. Have you seen orcas hunt? Like videos on the orcas hunting?
They are badass.
Yeah,
They're
they
incredible.
are. Yeah.
Yeah. Those things are like, oh my gosh.
I just hope they're not hunting scrawny triathletes. Not a lot of meat here. Not a lot of meat here.
Somehow I think that they like the sea lions more. I think they like the meal of a sea lion a lot more than one of us. But
I like
Yeah.
watching them beat up great whites. That's kind of fun.
yeah.
Any other spooky stories, guys?
Mine involves a bear.
Oh God.
Nice.
On a mountain bike or on
No,
running?
it was just hiking.
Oh,
actually.
okay.
I've had a couple of hikes where one was on Mount Hood. I'm out with my dog, just the two of us.
Yeah, that's scary for the dog, right?
Yeah,
you're like,
we're hiking this trail. It's like a 12-mile loop hike we're doing, and we get 5 or 6 miles in, and we came to a snowy section, and there were bear tracks all through the snowy section, and they were pretty fresh. And that whole rest of the hike, I was just
spooked.
freaked out. You know, I'm looking around every corner. I'm trying to make a lot of noise. Then I'm trying to be quiet. And then I'm trying to make a lot of noise.
You're like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed
I
to
don't
do.
know what I'm supposed to do.
My fear with my old dog was that my dog would be like, "Oh, bear, I'm going to go chase this thing."
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Now,
Yeah,
is
they think
Piper
there's a dog.
Piper is famous. If you guys don't know who Piper is, Piper has got their own Instagram.
She's got her own Instagram page now.
She's world famous. So you can find her on Piper
the Wonder Pup.
Piper the Wonder Pup on Instagram. But do you think she would bolt off and chase?
Yes, she would.
Like a cougar or something?
Yes,
That
she
be-
would.
Hey, you want to be friends?
Yeah, the cougars.
She would.
Oh, speaking of bear fears, cougar fears are.
Oh, you're taking my story. Shh.
Okay, go. You explain because that is cougars. I never had to think about cougars until I got out here.
All right, so mine. I grew up in San Diego County for the first 20 years of my life. I lived there, then moved up to Orange County, and then I spent a lot of my years in a little area, basically butted right up to a wilderness park called Whiting Ranch Wilderness Park. Have you guys ever heard of or seen the lady who was attacked by a mountain lion, like bit her head? And they've done like.
I think I heard this story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've seen it like on
Yeah.
Discovery Channel, and whatnot. That happened I lived there when
Oh,
that
my
happened,
God.
and that happened about a mile from where I lived. And I used to ride through this place almost daily. It was like my backyard, and it was like the gateway to get to all other kinds of mountain biking and whatnot. So anyhow, fast forward a couple of years after that happened, and I was wanting to get a ride in on a particular day, and the sun had gone down. Still wanted to go for a ride. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this, get the kids to bed. I'm going to go out and do a night ride. Nobody wanted to go with me. I'll just go and do this anyway. Slap on the lights. You get a light on your helmet, a light on your handlebars. You can go out there and you go and do your mountain bike ride. And kind of cruising through that area, I'm like, oh yeah, there was mountain bike lions back here, and from time to time you'll see the sign comes up, there's mountain lions fighting and yada yada yada. So I get through there, it's fine, and I jump over into the secondary part, like you cross this little street and it's another whole mountain biking mecca. And they called it it's a Santiago truck trail, and there's a trail back there called the Luge. I can remember doing a climb going up, and it scared the bejesus out of me because you're climbing up and you're puffing and huffing and all that other stuff, and you hear some rustling in the bushes. Like, oh god, crap, what is that? It could be so many different things. It could be just something as simple as like a little squirrel or a rabbit, but this was a little bit more. And I think looking back on the situation, I think it was a coyote that I had spooked, but the mountain lion sightings were very common back then. So that happened, and I jump out of my skin and I drop the hammer to get to the end of this climb, and then you get to the top, and then
was that your best 5-minute power probably ever? Right there.
It's pretty good. But you get to the top, and again, you're back in the middle of nowhere, kind of, and you're by yourself, and then there's a long descent, and you're like, you have that floating in the back of your mind, and this long descent is called the Luge. So if you can use your imagination, it's a single track trail. It's so much fun, but it's a steep cliff that comes down on your right, on your left, and then to your right is a steep cliff that goes down. So you'd have to climb up to go up. That's fine if you crash into that. You're not going to fall down or anything like that. But if you go to the right side, you're going a long ways down, and it's one of those things that you can get pretty hurt. And you've got in the back of your mind, you're like, I just want to get home. I'm out here riding by like a single or a light in front of me, and I think I heard a bobcat or something like that, or a mountain lion, and you're flying down the single track trail, and it was just a full on spooky scenario for me by myself. And I don't think I did it by myself again. I did it with friends after that, but that was probably the most spooked I've ever been on a ride. Just scared that you're going to crash and be down in a ravine.
Mountain lions will like stalk you too. They are. Oh god, they're like the orcas of the land. Yeah, they're terrible.
Well, in that same
sea lions of the land. Yeah.
In that same place in Whiting Ranch, there was the lady. She survived, and they did.
She survived that attack.
She did, yes, and she has gone back to ride, and they've done stuff on her, on TV and whatnot. But there was a guy. His name was Mark Reynolds. And they actually have like a nice bench that they built for him after this. He was attacked by a mountain lion up there as well, and this is within, I think, like a month or week, or it was pretty close. And I think it might have even been the same cat, if I'm not mistaken. But this one, he got killed. He died.
That's sad.
And they're trying to figure out like how in the world this could have happened. Some people speculated that there might have been a heart attack or something like that. But he was a 35-year-old fit mountain bike racer guy, and he got pounced by a cat. And I think that he got a flat tire, and I think that he was down fixing his bike, and I think the cat pounced him and had a taste for human, and unfortunately he died, which was kind of sad. So
apparently all our spooky stories involve animals.
Yeah. Animals and humans driving cars.
Well, I have another one too, and I'll make this one really quick. I was doing a ride, a road bike ride, and this was actually after we moved up to Washington. Went back down there and did the MS Beta Bay ride, which was a lot of fun. And then while I'm down there, usually over the course of 4 days, I'll get something like 300 to 400 miles in, just because I'm trying to soak up and do all of my favorite stomping grounds. I was riding this canyon loop, and I got out there, and all of a sudden the skies got really dark, and all of a sudden you get the feeling like something's going on, and all of a sudden it starts pouring down rain, and then you start seeing flashes of lightning in the sky, and you're out in the middle of the canyon all by yourself, and you're seeing like kind of where it would hit, like a strike would hit, and then you're kind of doing the whole, like, you see the lightning and you start counting, and harken back to like this what was that Poltergeist. Poltergeist. Remember when the little kid was counting like the between the flash and whatever?
Yes.
So you're counting, like you see the flash and you're not even getting 1 second. I'm like,
Mississippi.
Crap, that's close to me. And like, I just wanted to hightail it out of there. And again, that was another one of those drop the hammer. And I had like 350 miles on my legs already from the past 3 or 4 days, and got the heck out of Dodge and got home, and I was just soaking wet. I'm like, I almost got killed by lightning. Even my wife, she was at the hotel that was probably, 7 or 8 miles away from me, and she sees it starts pouring, and she sees all the lightning and thunder. She's calling me on my phone like constantly. Where are you? Are you safe? Are you somewhere where you're not going to get hit by lightning? Yada yada yada. Yeah.
Like, don't worry, I'm safe in a canyon on a metal object.
So that was kind of spooky too.
Oh. Are we all going to be able to go on rides and stuff? Here's the big lesson with this, is not to be scared of these things, but to know that everybody's scared of these things. So we can all go out there together and be scared of stuff all together. There you go.
I'm not scared of sea lions.
I'm terrified of sea lions. Okay.
I am now scared of sea lions. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I've had quite a few run-ins with wild creatures and things like that. We can move on if you want to, or I can tell some creepy, weird story.
Do you have any like deliverance stories down in Alabama?
Yeah, I have good
Ding, ding,
stories.
ding, ding,
Well,
ding, ding,
so I went on a long run one time. So what I like to do, I'm kind of backwards in some ways. Like, I don't like to run on concrete that much. I like to run on trails. I don't like to bike on trails. I like to bike on concrete. So
Don't like loose socks, like tight
don't
socks.
like loose socks. I like tight socks.
Here's
But
particular.
it's funny because I picked up those dialed socks the other day. I'm a weird character. But
We knew this.
You know, I did a single track trail run. This is back a long time ago before there were cell phones or anything like that. And it's like 10 or 12 miles, I think, loop in Alabama with no like water or anything like that. And we came up on a herd of wild mountain goats. Which I tell this story. I've told this story a couple times and people don't believe me. And I'm like, wouldn't make this up. And the mountain goats follow the trails. You know, they follow the same trails that you're on. And so
How many mountain goats?
Okay,
What makes a herd of mountain goats?
this was a
what number?
big group. So I would say there was about 25.
That's a lot of mountain goats.
Yeah, it's a ton. And they
Yeah.
stink. You can smell them before you get to them.
yeah.
And so we come up on this group, and as soon as you come up on them, the males will turn and stand off, and like you stop because you're standing in front of a male that's about to charge you with horns. You know, like, and they're faster than you.
Those
on the
things can
trails.
get going. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if they hit you, you're hurt. You're gonna be hurt pretty bad. And so we stop, and then part of the herd finally, you know, we're following this herd of mountain goats, and it's taken forever, and like half the herd finally turns off the trail, and then we're dealing with the second half of the herd that keeps going in front of us. And there's no way. I mean, if we turn around, we're going to basically be going, you know, like 8 miles backwards on the other way around the trail without water or anything like that in the Alabama heat. And each time that we get anywhere close to the herd, the male turns around, stands off with the horns, like stands us off, and is like, each time you think it's going to charge you. And then,
I mean,
you know,
what would you have done? Just turned around and done your greatest 30-second interval of your life right there? Or is it, I mean...
You just get the bike in between you and the
this is
ramp.
this is running.
It's running.
This is right. Yeah,
Oh.
he does not have the
Sorry.
option to accelerate up to 20 miles an hour here.
So eventually, after like 2 miles of this, the herd finally moves off the trail. We go through and we're fine. No problem. No one got hurt. But my thing ever since is like, when you're in these areas that don't have cell service, like, I think that's scary. Like, am I weird that like each bike ride, even if I'm on the roads, like I get out really far away and like there's no cell phone service. There's no help coming. I mean, you know, I don't tell my wife this, but like there's so many times where we're just not anywhere close to some sort of cellular connection. And Lance, what do you do?
That happened to me a couple years ago where I was doing this 50-mile ride.
Yeah.
And there was a 10-mile gravel section that I was unprepared for.
Yeah.
And I flatted twice. I used up all my tubes, and I was 20 miles from my truck.
Right.
And there was no cell service.
There's no
And
option.
I had gone around a gate to get on the road.
So you know there's no
There's
cars
no
coming.
cars, and I was seriously considering the possibility of me having to hike 5 hours out in the dark to get to my truck.
Yeah.
So
that's scary stuff to me,
Yeah.
for sure. So
That's very scary. Yeah.
I ended up just riding on my flat tire.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
I'm
that's what
like,
you have
I'm
to do.
sacrificing this rim
Yeah.
so that I don't die.
Yeah.
This is going to sound dumb. I had no idea there were mountain... This was in Alabama?
Mountain goats in Alabama, northern Alabama. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's why I think a lot of people
'Cause
don't
I-
believe me when I tell that story.
Yeah.
They're like, no, there's no.
Because I
wild
ran
mountain goats.
into a mountain goat going
you?
up the Enchantments climb up Dragon Tail Pass, which was cool. But then I was with some guys hiking up, and they did tell me, because I'm taking a video of this, he's like, make sure you stay away from that thing.
Yeah.
Because it was a male mountain goat.
Yep.
And he didn't like us very much because he was looking right at us and he was making noises. So
they'll charge.
Yeah.
They'll charge you. Yeah. Did you smell it?
Yeah, he
Oh my
smelled
gosh.
terrible.
They are.
And the other thing too is we were definitely in his territory, because if anybody who's ever hiked the enchantments here, Dragon Tail Pass is like, you're like crawling up falling rocks for like 2 miles. It's the slowest 2 mile hike I've ever done in my life. And that mountain goat
No problem.
definitely knows how to traverse that terrain a whole lot better than I do. So if he had made the decision that I don't want this guy on this mountain anymore, I would have been tumbling a mile down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. They use those horns, man.
Northern Alabama. Whew.
Yeah. Well, I think the trail that we were running on, it might have been called the Goat Trail or something that might have just been the name that we had for it. But like it was a known fact, like that there was herds of mountain goats and things like that out there. But you can smell them, and a lot of times you would smell them and not see them. So they're up there, but you just don't know exactly where they are. So
Stinky.
Yeah.
the fear of stink.
All right, I think that we've spooked everybody enough, including ourselves. Let's kick it off. One last thing. Evan, one last thing from you, bud.
I'm going to talk about something not nearly as scary. Got to talk and see a little bit about the Stride Power Meter recently.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which Matt's done some stuff with, and me and Matt are going to have some nerd talks about it. And it's a new bit of technology out there for runners, anybody who does not know what it is yet. It is, I'll try and dumb it down. It's basically a power meter and a accelerometer that you tie to your shoe.
It is an accelerometer that is they use that data to correlate it with a power number.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be power meter for running. So I did a YouTube video about it. You guys can find it if you search for Stride Power Meter or whatever on YouTube. And it's a good product.
Basically,
it's
measuring rate of change
Yes.
is how it was explained.
Right.
So
and accelerometers in your phones and everything like that have become excellent. So
yeah.
If you were to tie your cell phone to your shoe and have access to all the algorithms and things like that Stride is doing, that theoretically would work as well.
Yeah.
But
I will not be having spousal cost deception issues with that particular product.
that particular product. Yeah, I don't remember how much it costs. $100, $150. I don't remember.
I would have to look right now, but yeah, it's interesting. I'll probably be talking more about it in the future. Trying to, from a running gait analysis standpoint, I'm trying to see how it can help.
I bet it could help with
somebody
running gait analysis.
who does this in my field. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Cool. Lance, one last thing.
Big surprise! I'm headed out of town again this
No
weekend.
way.
Oh yeah.
Don't say.
I was so hoping we could get in a Saturday ride too or something.
It is Dad's weekend at Washington State University in Pullman, so I'm headed down to spend a couple days with my daughter and go to a football game. And
Oh, cool.
Their football program's had a couple big weekends. These past 2 weekends, they've had some big wins.
Washington State's been done well. So
My one last thing, Lance. I'm also going east. I'm going to be just right behind you, but I'll be in a school bus.
I'll be in the adventure mobile.
The wheels on the bus go round.
It is.
and
So
round.
It's Spokane, right? Is that where it's gonna?
No,
where's
state for
state?
us is in the Tri-Cities area in Pasco, Washington. So my one last thing is that the Camas High School bus will be rolling to state. And you guys need to each wish us good luck.
And then
as
Matt's
we
season
give
is
it a go.
done, and we get to have fun on the weekends again.
Yes,
Woo!
yes, that will be nice for sure. Yep.
My one last thing is I am super proud of our cycling team. I always talk about the team, but I'm kind of partial.
should, yeah.
They are kicking some serious arse. The Team Bar, which is the best all-around rider competition, which they have a team competition in there as well. We are coming up towards the end of the year. We've got about another, month left of just cyclocross race. It's pretty much like Cross Crusade races and the state championship race and maybe a couple other little...
There's like 3 weeks left, or 4 weeks left.
We're just about there, boys. We have 7,180 points. Second place has 4,429 points.
It's over.
And third place has
Wrap it up, boys.
2,335 points. So
Can I just say it's crazy
That's so
that
awesome.
a new team is able to win that? I mean, that's crazy to me.
That's crazy.
hey, we're 2 years old.
I know.
And I mean, you think about it. We had the director of Obra in here saying the same thing, that this is a team that is obviously making massive splashes in Obra points wise. And I mean,
We had a
this
lot of
is
people come out and race,
awesome.
and it's not like show up and automatically you get points. Like you have to finish within a certain percentage, or like in the top 15 of all race field categories. And sometimes these fields are 40, 50, 60 people deep. So you could go out there and finish 16th and you get no points. Or if you finished 15th, you only get 1 point. So it's not easy to get points. I mean, there are certain times where you can get points that are easier than others.
I scored some points, so there might be some easy options. Let's not lie.
But you're fast and you did the Jack Frost time trial and you got us some
I
points.
think
Well,
I think the
don't think it was my best
triathlon
race.
team needs to back this up this year. We gotta
Step up.
It's a lot
do
of
some
pressure
races.
on Matt here.
I'm stoked though. I mean, the point differential between first and second place is 2,751
Who's in second?
points.
ATI.
Therapeutic Associates.
Yeah, it's a good team.
They're a solid team, and they've got a lot of like
They have some
top
studs.
level elite racers,
Yeah.
and that they're going out there and they're killing it. But I just think it's awesome that the point differential between us and second place is more than what third place has.
Yeah.
That just like our goal at the beginning of the year is like, all right, we're going to finish in the top 3.
Yeah.
And if you had told me at the beginning of the year when we had our little season kickoff party that we would be up by as much as we're up right now, I would have laughed at you. I'm like, yeah, haha, that's not going to happen. Like I would have been just happy to be. Sorry. People calling. Stop calling me, man. We are using these devices and they're connected to the podcast.
They're trying to comment. Yeah, they're trying to comment on the podcast.
So anyway, I just, for each and every one of you guys on the team that pinned on a race number this year, thank you. And thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for, going through all the suffering and the injuries and the, losing your hydration
Fears.
and your fears and all that other fun
The sea
stuff.
lions, the everything.
So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun, and it'll be a fun season-ending party for us this year to kind of celebrate our accomplishment. I don't want to call it yet because it's never over till it's over, but it's looking pretty good that we're going to tie this thing down, and I'm excited about that. That's awesome. So that's my one last thing. Yep.
It's good stuff.
All right, that is a wrap, folks. A couple quick little things just to remind you. We have the Prune Hill 10K coming up. If you guys are interested in doing that ride and you are here in the Portland area, we will be posting that up on our Strava group page with more details, ride routes, and all that fun information. It will be on either November 10th or November 17th, probably predicated on what weather weekend is looking the best. I think we're going to try and shoot for the 10th right now, and then it will fall into the 17th only if it becomes necessary. We also have the Ugly Sweater Christmas Ride coming up. That will be November 24th, which will be the Saturday right after Thanksgiving, and we are going to raise a ton of money to buy a bunch of bikes for a bunch of kids this Christmas, and we are already off to a $3,000 head start because we are pulling money from last year that didn't get spent because of different reasons, people basically not being able to follow through or do what they said they were able to do, but we're going to take that money and just double up this year. Should be a lot of fun. We have our team gear that comes in on Wednesday. When you are listening to this podcast, we will have all of our team gear. If you're interested in some of that stuff, check out the Dialed Cycling team page on Facebook, and we'll post some of that up there. And then we'll be sending out announcements to everybody on the team. One little thing, a thank you for everybody that took our survey. Man, I am rambling on today, like big time.
This is all good stuff.
Yeah, a bunch of you guys took our survey that we put out last week. Thank you. That survey is still up there, and that feedback that we got was actually really cool. It's very insightful.
It
And
was very good feedback.
I really enjoyed the comments that we got in those, be it good or bad or indifferent. It was just kind of encouraging. It gives us some direction as to what you guys want to hear. Thank you for that. It's still there. Go take it. It literally only takes a minute just to go through and take.
We are a podcast for the people, by the people.
Yeah, but you can find that on our Facebook page. It's just simple click, and it will take literally a minute of your time. Let's see here. iTunes. Go to iTunes. We haven't had some reviews in a while. I think we've had somebody gave us a star review last week, but I'd like to see more people go in there and chime in and give us more feedback on there and just tell folks what they think about the show. And the last thing, and I promise I will shut up. Share the podcast with a friend. Put it up. We put it up on social media on all of our different platforms. If you don't follow us on Facebook, there's a myriad of different ways that at Dialed Podcast, or you can follow the Dialed Cycling team, or if you're in any one of our groups, if you're interested in joining those, you're going to see it there as well. Share those. Share it with a friend and tell them why you like it. We would really appreciate that. Helps us out. So, that's it. Promise I'd shut up. So that's it, guys. Any parting words from you? Any of you?
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
We need to have it a little bit more positive next time. Less scary.
Less scary.
Less scary. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Evan. Thanks, Lance. You guys have a fun and safe Halloween. All the people listening, thank you for listening, and we will see you guys next week. Bye for now.